Okay, we have started the recording. So, Romain, please tell us all about extensive reading in French.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, wait, let me find my PowerPoint. Not the PowerPoint here. Yeah, that's the PowerPoint. Okay, oh, I see your faces. Okay, I think it's okay. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, so welcome everyone. I'm Romain Jourdan-Ôtsuka, teaching French at Kyoto University of Foreign Studies for the past 10 years. And I've been doing extensive reading for 2 years now. And I'd like to talk to you about what I'm doing, how to do extensive reading when you don't have like online platforms, not many graded readers and things like that. So do it yourself, extensive reading. But if I could do it, you can do it. That's some sort of pep talk. Okay. So anyway, so about my program, how does it work? So about the books, I bring, so I have books in my office, and at each class I bring, I don't know, 10, 15 physical books, and students can borrow them, or in some classes they can read the books in the classroom. And also I try to make, if possible, books, at least some of them, available online legally. So I have public domain books, and also I try to find on YouTube read aloud of my books, so that people who don't want to borrow the physical copies can just watch, listen, read the book on their phone. That's how it works. That's how it works. And then there's, of course, there's an evaluation part. There's a quiz for each book, short quiz, 5 to 10 questions, quite easy to do. And students are asked to write in a journal what they read each week for a month, and each month I collect the journals and then grade them. Okay, that's how it works. So in my in the summary of my presentation, I talked about A2 to B1 level. What books are appropriate to A2 to B1 level? And well, the reason is that my students are A2 to B1 level. So I teach French in university from second year to fourth year. And well, as you know, French is not a language that high school students learn in Japan. So most of my students start from zero. And I guess it's going to be the same for Spanish, Russian, German, Italian, etc. And yeah, so they start from zero. And well, in my classes, I have my students take an online test called TCF, which is kind of like the TOEFL, but they take the free one. There's a free one online and on 80 questions, and it helps me measure their level. And since the 3 last years, I had them take 400 that test 400 times. Okay, and so 208 students took the tests, so most of them several times. And the interesting thing when you look at this graph is that the results are very homogeneous. Like well, basically almost 90% of my students from second to fourth year are end of A2, beginning of B1 level. Almost 90%. Okay, with some of them, less than 8% are below that level, and an even smaller number are above that level. But mostly I'm teaching to end of A2, beginning of B1 level students. And these are the people who are participating in my extensive reading program. And well, I don't know, you might have similar level in your classes too. So about my program, very quickly. So as I said, I studied it, well, 2.5 years ago. So the data you will see today are the data I gathered until the end of the previous semester. I'm still like this present semester is not over, so data are not included, but I have data from spring 2021 to fall 2022. And so the program started quite small. So on the right side here, you have the library content, okay? The bars shows the number of books that were available, and the line is the total word count for all these books. So I started with only 65 books, and well, finally, well, it grew every semester, and last semester I had 211 different books. It's increasing, and same for the word count, obviously. And as for the students, here you have something similar. It's the average number of books read by each student. It's average, it's the mean, and also the word count, okay? And so they started reading on average around, well, less than 12 books. And recently, last semester, they were reading on average 23 books. But the most interesting thing is that they were reading around 2,700 words on average during one semester, so 14 weeks. And more recently, they're reading 6 times more, well, almost 6 times that number. So it's increasing. And I explain in detail this whole program in a master's degree I defended last year. And the thesis is available online. It's in French, but you can find it online. So if you're interested, that's for the program. Okay. In that thesis, I also translated, I try to introduce as much information about extensive reading as possible, because it's almost unknown in French, research. Day in Bamford, for example, I wasn't able to find any translation of anything related to Day in Bamford. And so I might be the first person to translate to French the 10 principles, and they are in my thesis. Okay, so let's have a closer look at the books. So this is an extract of the catalog. Right now, this week, I offer 241 books, okay? And the books in my library are sorted by word count, by length. Because it was the easiest way to sort my books. None of these books had headwords, because we don't have much credit readers in French, and they usually don't put the headwords on the books, so I had no headwords. I had no word count, so what I did is that I just picked my books and started counting word by word, and that's how I sort my books, and that's what how do you say, guide the students. They know, okay, this one is going to be very short, I should start with this one, and then when they get ready, they pick longer books. And so the shortest books available are like less than 100 words, and the longest one are in the 3,000, 4,000 words range. And well, each semester I try to add longer and longer books and see if people read them. So yeah, it's increasing all the time, improving all the time. And you don't have, of course, the complete list here, just the smallest and the longest. Now, okay, this is maybe the most important part of this presentation, of this research. I've been doing extensive reading for 2.5 years, and for the past 2 years, my students read 5,311 books. They took 5,311 quizzes. In French, it's going to be the fiche. That's how many quiz they took. And 211 different books were available, and students participate, some of them for 2 or 3 semesters, and so 154 different, unique students participated. Anyhow, so they read 5,300 and something books, and we can gather very important information from that. We know that their level is mostly A2, B1. So no, you don't say high beginner, but late beginner, early intermediate, something like that. And okay, if we look closely at what they read, then it can give us, me first, and maybe people that would like to start extensive reading, some insight on what kind of book this kind of people, the people with that kind of proficiency, can read. Okay, so here and here, I gathered the books of my library by level. I'll explain the level very simply. Level 0 is books between 0. I don't have a 0-word book. I could, but I wouldn't. Anyway. Between 0 and 99 words, okay? Level 1 is from 100 to 199, okay? And so, for example, level 10 is from 1,000 to 1,099 words, okay? So that's, okay. So that's how I sorted all of my books. Here you have the whole thing from 0 to 45. Here you only have the first 21st level. Okay, here on this graph, the blue line shows how many books I'm providing for each level. Okay, so you see that my library has many very short word count books. Okay, and I try to offer as many books of different lengths as possible. And more interesting, the green bars are how many quizzes were taken for each level. Okay, how many level 0 books were read, etc., etc. And so, for example, you can see here that the most popular level was level 3, so books between 300 and 399 books. And yeah, these are the most sought after, the most popular. Okay, but I have something more interesting than that. If we look at all the quiz taken for each level, and that we add them, we accumulate the percent of the total of the quiz taken, we see that arriving at level 5, so here, arriving at level 5, we reach almost 80% of all the books read by my student. 80% of these 5,300 and something books were under 600 words. That's, yes, level 5 is up to 599. So 80%, 4 out of 5 books read by my students were less than 500 words. That's what they read. Less than 600 words books. Okay, that's 80%. And this is, I think, a big and important mark. Okay. And if we look a bit further, oh, and yeah, here I put 63.5. This is in the library. The books up to level 5 represents 63% of all the books available, which is different with the quizzes taken. They represent 63%, but in total, students read it's equivalent to 80% of everything that was read. Okay, and yeah, so if we go further, at level 24, we reached 99% of everything that has been read by my student, meaning that once you go above 2,500 words, well, it's the 1%, the infamous 1%. Only the crème de la crème is going to read books above 2,500. So it's not a hard cap, but yeah, just so you know, up to 600, it's good for most of the people. And if you go above 2,500, it's just too much for 99% of the people. Well, something like that. So sorry, I'm a bit playing with the numbers, but that's the idea. You get the idea. Now, let's get a bit more into detail. So we know that my students are comfortable with books less than 600 words and don't go above 2,500. And now I'd like to make a distinction about the types of books they're reading. I made a distinction between 3 types of book that I guess you will agree with. One is non-graded books, children books. In French, we say littérature de jeunesse. Okay, that's non-graded books. Most common books available, the books my kids read, that kind of thing. And then we have graded readers for first language. Okay, and yeah, that's what the children in France read when they start learning to read, and that's what their teachers, elementary school teachers, or the librarians recommend them. And these are also the books, some of the books my daughters bring back from school, because my daughters are going to the French school in Kyoto, so they read that kind of book and children books a lot. And for French, the first language graded readers, they are quite developed and they're quite interesting. It's just for people like us, second language education specialists, they're not very famous. We don't know much about these books. And third category is graded readers for second language learners. Okay, so like your typical graded readers that for English, I mean, most common graded readers, the one that obviously second language education specialists are the most familiar with. And in French, we're going to call them livres en français facile, simple French, easy French books. And these are the 3 categories of books that I have in my library, and that maybe you have in your library. We'll ask Sandra about that later. I'm really interested about this. And so, okay. So now we're gonna look at some graphs. So as I explained, in my library, I have non-graded books, first language graded readers, second language graded readers. And the way I use them is quite different. Well, let's see how much each of these different categories are read by the student and how many of each category I provide to my students. So here you have some graph, the first one. Here you have the total of books available when I gathered data, 211, okay? In this total, 164 are non-graded books, okay, like children literature. It's most commonly available books. You can even find them in well, Maruzen in Kyoto. I mean, in bookstores in Japan, because they're beautiful. They're beautiful. So anyway, so I have that many non-graded books, and so it's worth 77.7% of all the books I'm offering. I have, yeah, way less first language graded readers, around 17%, and second language graded readers around 6%. Okay, so these are how many books are available. But here on the right side, you remember the word fish, so the quizzes. taken. This is how much the students read those different categories. So non-graded amount to 85, almost 85%, or they're the most popular. First language graded readers, a bit less, slightly less, well, less than what the author is. They're available, but students read them a bit less. And second language graded readers, it's only 3%. They're the less popular ones. So why? Why? I'd say it's a matter of, well, size. Okay, so about this graph, there's a big graph in the back. On this graph, this first part, second part, you have all the books available in my library, okay? From the shortest one, the 39 words book, very popular, very nice, to, okay, here, I cut the graph in two around the 80% mark. If you remember, less than 600 words, it's here, okay? From 39 to 600. And then second part from 600 to the longest available book, 4,358 words. Okay, it's here. And about the middle, there's the second mark, the 1% mark, okay? And okay, so the thing is, oh yeah, last bit of explanation. There are three colors. Blue are the non-graded books, and you will find them almost everywhere. Well, not much in the end, but up to there, yeah. Second color, the first language graded readers, okay, in green, okay? Here, and here, and yeah, almost everywhere. The longest book is a first language graded reader, actually. But when we look for second language graded readers, the red ones, well, first thing you notice is that in this specific range, between 39 words to 599, there are exactly 0 second language graded readers. That's where 80% of the reading is done by my student. And there are no, in my collection, I have 0 second language graded reader available for that length, which explains, I guess, why there's only 3% of second language graded readers read. Okay, the first one starts here at 618, so a bit above that first mark. And compared to that, first language graded readers, they're, as I said, they're everywhere. The shortest one is 106 words. So even for people with very low confidence, low proficiency, it's still reachable, okay? And it's not the only one. Oh yeah, I put B, the bottom B is for the first language graded reader, and C is for the second. If you're colorblind or anyway, for any reason, you have two clues, okay? So yeah, first language graded readers mainly are available under the 600 words mark, but not second language graded readers. And yeah, that's where they are. So, and second graph here to just, no, graph, that's not a graph. Yeah, I forgot the word, but yeah, here you have a second something. Yeah, it's not coming, but that's okay. You got the idea. So here, I summarized that ID. These are, so graded reader, first language graded reader, second language graded reader. These are less than 600 words books, and for first language graded readers, there are 14 available in my library. Second language, 0, okay? And if you go further, well, there above, if you go above there, you will find the second language graded readers, okay? So yeah, that's the situation. And see, I will find shorter second language graded reader, but the situation is that for French, where my student can read the most comfortably and under 600 words, they are there are no second language graded readers available. Okay, so that's an issue. Anyhow, to conclude, I would like to talk more in detail. I would like to showcase some books and some series for both non-graded readers, first language, second language graded readers that are the most popular, so that, well, if you teach French, please feel free to order the same books. If you teach another language, well, look for something similar in your language. That's what I would say. So let's go. So let's start with the non-graded readers and the most popular books of my entire program. And okay, you have the titles, you have the author, and then the word count and how many quizzes were taken. And so the most popular books in my program were read around 100 times each. Okay, and about the range, about the length, they go from 82 words to 300 and something. So they are very short books. Okay, let's have a look. What do they look like? This is the most famous book in my old program, Le Dîner. And yeah, it's short. It has big illustrations and like 1, 2, 3 sentences on each page. It's reassuring, definitely. It's even a beginner could feel that maybe they can read it and the illustration are going to help with the meaning. Okay, another example, second most popular book, J'aime les livres, I love books. Los me gustan, no me gustan los libros. J'aime les livres. So maybe you know Anthony Brown. And so that's a French version of one of his books. And again, 82 words, big, rich and colorful illustrations, and like 1 sentence for 2 pages. It's a bestseller. They love it. To start with, I mean, they're not only reading super short books, but anyway. And a last example, this one, Grosse Colère, 227, and again, big illustration, 1 or 2 sentences each page. It's a good start. Okay. Now, let's see some non-graded books that are above the 600 words mark, because even longer books can be quite popular. Same thing here, you have books that have been read between 27 and 42 times, and they're more in the, well, 600 to 1,100 words. So let's have a quick look. This is, yeah, the most popular one. It's Le Loup qui n'aimait pas Noël, the wolf who didn't like Christmas. There's a whole collection about Le Loup, and he has all kind of adventures. And okay, see, so you have paragraphs, you have more things to read, but the illustrations are still there and are still very helpful. Okay, so no wonder it's quite popular. Second example, second most popular at this range, Le Magicien des Couleurs, the Arnold Lobel. So you know Arnold Lobel. I found the English title of this book. It's The Great Blueness and Other Predicaments. I don't know if you know this one. It's quite popular in French. Again, plenty of illustrations and yeah, longer paragraph. But yeah, people are reading it. And last example, more French than the last one. This is a very famous series that is beloved by all French people, young and older, Caroline et ses amis. Yeah, around 1,000 words too, and yeah, it's quite popular, okay? So now let's move to first language graded readers, the most read ones, okay? Here I put first the name of the series, okay? And then you have the level, because they are graded readers, so they have levels. Not all have level, but they have level. And you have the title, and again, word count, and how many quizzes. And yeah, the most popular ones have been read like around 80 to almost 100 times. So no difference with non-graded readers. And you see some repetition here and here, because yeah, these are series. Let's look at some popular short series. So the first one is Story Weaver. It's an Indian website, and here I put some advertisement from the website. It says that with your help, every child can read stories in their mother tongue, and that's the goal of Story Weaver. Okay, it's an international Indian website that offers short books translated, available in many languages, and they have quite a few in French, in Spanish, in Russian, as I explained to my colleagues. They have 5 different levels, and this is okay. That's one page of this one, Dans Milali, the most popular, read 96 times, and yeah, it's decent. The stories are short, cute, and the picture, and some have some very nice picture. And here I put the range of the books that I have in my collection. They go from 109 to 242, so very short books. Okay. Now next, it's a collection from Quebec, a series from Quebec, Rat de Bibliothèque. That would be bookworm or something like that, but except it's a rat in French, Rat de Bibliothèque. So it's a series from Quebec. It has 4 different levels by age, which is very common for first language graded readers. The range also, it's very short, but I only have 2 of this collection, but very short. And see, again, nice illustrations and a few, 1 or 2 sentences, quite popular. Last one, a French one. It's called Je lis pas à pas avec Théo et Nina from Atier. It's a big publisher, and yeah, this one is used a lot in elementary school, and there are 4 levels. You can see this one is 3rd year of kindergarten to first grade of elementary school, then middle of 1st grade, end of 1st grade, and 1st grade, 2nd grade. These are their levels. So the books I have goes from 100 something to 300 something, very short. And as you can see, some interesting thing is that they give some information about how you must read or how you must pronounce or not pronounce some letters, some sounds in French, and it can be very important at the beginning. Okay. Now that's it for the first language, most popular ones. Now let's have a look at the ones that goes above the 600 words mark. So here you will, see they're all around, from 700 to 600 to 1,000, 1,600. So it's quite large. And here you also see some repetition. Let me show you this series. I'll start with the shortest one and go to the longer ones after. So the shortest one that I use quite a lot is called Milan Benjamin, and the books I have goes from 500 to 700 something. And they explain on their website and inside the book that these books are made specifically for young readers. They have 3 short chapters. The vocabulary, the grammar defined for this purpose, and they even have some post-reading activities. Okay, and this kind of content. Okay, they're quite popular. My daughters love these books. Then, if you go a bit, if you look for something longer, you have L'École d'Agathe. It's French too, and they're around 1,000 words. And there's 70 books available in this series, actually, so quite popular too. And if you have a look at it, it's almost a novel. See, there you have bigger paragraph, but still have very colorful and very helpful illustrations. Okay, and the last one, if you want to go even further with longer books, there's this collection called it's also from France, Les Grands Textes à Hauteur d'Enfant. So This collection offers world literature classics such as Jungle Book, the Arthurian myth, or Victor Hugo, Les Miserables, and that kind of things, but in a simplified, easy-to-read version for elementary school children. Also, the kind of books that my daughter was reading at the French school, is reading at the French school. And here also you see there looks like novels, but still with very nice illustration. They're very, it's a very nice collection. Okay, that's it for first language graded readers. And then let's move to second language graded readers that are quite popular in my program. So I won't have a category for less than 600 words because as I said earlier, I have no second language graded reader below 600 words. So they're all above. And again, here you'll see some repetition. And so let me introduce you to the two most popular second language graded readers I have in my library. First one is called Myosotis Literacy 1. And it's from Quebec. It's a Quebec series. But here you see that the range, the actual range, starts at, it goes from 371 to 900 something. And yeah, I said earlier that I have no short second language graded readers. Actually, I have, but they have been added to my program later after I gathered the data. So now I have slightly shorter available in my program. And for that reason, I would recommend this series because, again, it's the shortest books available as a graded readers designed specifically for second language learners. It's quite good. It's quite good, and it was designed by people. It was based on the neuro-linguistic approach, which is a pedagogy from Canada that I'm using in my classes too. So it's very well done, easy to use. And the second one is actually it's not published. The second most read second language graded reader collection I have is something that one teacher of French as a foreign language did and put on a website. It is Harry Potter Lecture Facile. So Harry Potter in simple French. And yeah, she adapted the first tome of Harry Potter, so Harry Potter and the Philosophical Stone, and she made very simplified version of it, and yeah, it works. It's very popular, and so if you look at, and so basically she kept the same number of chapters, and she's offering them by 2 or 3 by 3, and I just kept that. So we have chapters 1 to 3, chapters 4 to 6, 7 to 9, and since it's divided like that, the word count for like 3 chapters is like 1,000 words. So in bigger case, it's still less than 2,000 words, and it seems that it's quite manageable because they were read like 25 times, 20 times, and of course the students still like and enjoy Harry Potter, so it works quite well. And that's it. That's all I can recommend at the moment for second language graded reader. And half of it's not even published. But it works. It works. So let me conclude. Okay, so if you were in a situation similar to mine with students, how we call them again, late beginner, early intermediate, A2 to B1, what books should you provide them? First thing is you need to give them short books. I'd say very short books, because in my case, 80% of the books read were less than 600 words. So my advice for my colleagues in Spanish, Russian, German, Italian, look for very short books. They'll be the most comfortable, the most easy to read at first. And second thing, if you pick long books, like, for example, Harry Potter, well, try to divide them in smaller portions, because, again, my data showed that anything above 2,500 words was read by what represent less than 1 out of 100 books. So yeah, make them shorter somehow. And yeah, one last thing, well, graded readers work. It's no problem. I mean, you should, usually people say the opposite. It's okay to read non-graded readers sometimes. It's just that in our case, there are not so many graded readers available. And well, if you find graded readers and they're not too long, it's gonna work. But you have to find graded readers at the correct, at the good size. And last, here are some research perspective based on this research. First thing is, okay, I use non-graded books, first language graded readers, second language graded readers. Apart from the length, what are the difference between these three types? Are graded readers, first language, second language, easier to read than non-graded readers? Are second language graded readers easier to read than first language graded readers? That kind of thing. And what about the quality of the story? What about the interest? Which one are the most interesting? Which one is the easier to read? This is a topic I want to work on based on the data I show you and some feedbacks from my students. Second thing is that the presentation I'm doing right now is actually an update of the same kind of presentation I did 6 months ago, so with less data. And 6 months ago, when I did the same research, the 99% mark was at 1,400 words, and now it's in 1,500 words, and now it's 2,500 words. So in 1 semester of time, my students managed to read more longer books, and I'm really curious about the reason why. One option could be that maybe I'm providing more accessible long books, such as the Harry Potter that were all introduced like during last semester. So that's one option. Library growth will help the students read more longer books. Second option is that I have many students participating in my program since the beginning, since they were in second grade and then in third grade. So they've been doing extensive reading with me for a few semesters now. And so maybe their reading proficiency grew. And if I can prove it with data, well, I think it's a good thing. It's a good argument that it works. And that's it. So merci beaucoup. Sorry for being a bit long. And yeah, I can't wait to hear your feedbacks about my do-it-yourself program. And I'll be happy to talk with you and yeah, exchange. So again, thank you very much. And that's it.
Thank you very much. That was very interesting, actually.
Oh, thank you.
I even though I'm not doing, reading in French, looking at the different materials that you have available, which is very interesting for me because I'm always on the lookout for new graded readers. And I have a couple of suggestions for things to fill in your lower levels.
Yeah, good.
Of course, a lot of it is budget based. I know that one of the most difficult things about building a library of books for any language is that you're often very restricted on what you can actually purchase, and quite often it comes out of your own pocket rather than whatever institution you're working for. But there are definitely books that I can recommend. But first, I thought we should probably look. We had quite a healthy chat going on during this whole thing. So perhaps, wow. Kimberly, you're the first one who was talking about the doing it for your masters. If so, for your PhD, you could get a frequency list for French and code a website that can analyze the word coverage for the word frequency. And yes, sorry to hear you're not feeling so great, Kimberly, but if you'd like to comment on that, that would be quite good.
Yeah. I'm working on that. Yeah, one of the next step is the study on readability. I use a few things. One is for each book the students read, they have the quiz, and at the end of the quiz, I put the same 2-3 questions that teachers are putting in their quizzes or when they're doing extensive reading. Since Bamford, 83, 84 questions are: was it interesting? And was it difficult to read? And so every student has to answer those 2 questions for each book. And so I have this data. Was it difficult? Was it enjoyable? I have the how do you say, the comprehension precision, reading precision. I have this, the quiz score for each of these books. So this is one part, okay? And of course, students can also write some comments. So not only on a scale from 1 to 5, but also some words. So I'm planning to use this. And at the same time, I'm starting to do it more like, basically readability analysis using the few scales. I don't remember the exact name, but so it's going to be average length for each word, for each sentence, for each paragraph, and then some combined like index. And word frequency, I will work on that, and head words too, of course. But I already have quite a lot of data, and so I'm going to put that together and see how the perceived difficulty is like adequated to the lexical complexity, that kind of things. But that's it's a very good idea.
What I would just also say is that if you're looking at vocabulary levels at all for French, don't make the same mistake that they keep making for English.
Yeah.
You cannot do random sampling on a population that has a structural bias, which is what a word list ordered by frequency is. The underlying structural bias in the population you're sampling from. So you cannot do random sampling for your vocabulary test from that.
Okay.
It violates everything about random sampling.
One thing I won't do is vocabulary test. I'm not doing that kind of thing.
You should.
There's the
Easier said than done, Kimberly. Trying to find, even for English, which has by far, the most resources out of all of the languages being taught, probably with extensive reading, trying to find a good vocabulary test that is usable is actually a very difficult thing, I find.
So all the more reason, Romain, to get in on the bottom floor and make sure that there is one available for French.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
But for anybody also not doing, doing other languages, please don't do random sampling. It is. Anyway, I'll shut up. I'll get off that horse.
Looking back at the comments, I'm going to go through the comments and things. We had a bit of discussion about graded readers for children tending to be deceptively complex. And one thing that I'd like to throw in here, which is the difference between leveled readers and graded readers, which I think is what we make a distinction with. So if it's for graded readers, to my understanding, designed for students who are learning languages as a foreign language, whether it be second language learning or foreign language learning. Whereas the books, so the really interesting looking books that your daughter is reading, they're designed for French speakers, and they are what we would call leveled readers.
Leveled readers, yeah. Okay.
So the distinction between graded and leveled readers, I think, is something that would be quite important when you were talking about your 3 categories of books.
Yeah.
So basically it's kids' books of a native level, then leveled readers in French, and then graded readers in French. So I think that would be your three categories.
Yeah.
But definitely the comments, Daniel, you were making a comment there about the difficult expressions and slang words that you find in these these kind of books.
I was surprised, indeed, to how, difficult expressions, me as a teacher of Spanish, as teacher Spanish language, for A1, A2 students, second year, third year, that difficult for even for children who are 4 or 5 years old, that my students wouldn't understand any expressions of those books. But I don't know.
We have the same issue in with English books, leveled readers or native level for young kids. Even the most popular Oxford Reading Tree books, wildly inappropriate language, not in terms of anything you might be thinking, but very words that are not very needed for people who are learning languages that come up in that, because they're not made for people who are learning foreign languages. So it's more native level, and strange slang or words come up. So
but it's colorful.
It is very colorful, yeah.
I also find that the grammar for, especially like the first 3 or 4 years of primary school is very sort of sing-song and childish, and very difficult for foreign language learners to understand as well.
Do you find that in French, actually, that's something, and other languages, of course, we've got many teachers here from different languages. Do you find that actually is a bit of an issue, that the kids' books generally are more, I don't know, what would you say, poetic in some way?
Sing-song. The
sing-song nature. It's all about rhythms that kids, that appeal to kids rather than regular language. Was that not an issue?
Not all of them. No, not all of them. That's also, I believe, it's one issue, is that children literature is not well known by teachers. We all have our interests, but many people have a very, not vague, but a very specific image of children literature. But when you look closely, like, I have 200 books, and they're not 200 variations of the same, like, I don't know, rhythmic, poetic something with cute animals. They talk about, I don't know, they talk about migration, they talk about, I don't know, sickness, grief, they talk about, I mean, well, obviously we were not talking about the topics, but yeah, topics can be very different. The style can be very different. I have documentaries for kids, and they're not like poetic or something. They will explain it. I have like one about handicap. What is handicap, and how people live with a handicap, and there's no rhymes or things like that. I mean, so it can be very, very broad. It can be very, very very varied. It could be even more varied than maybe leveled readers or graded readers, because some leveled or graded readers have language and language contents in as a focus, and so maybe sometimes the content itself is not pertinent, relevant. So I don't know, but no, using a lot of children literature, I don't think that children literature is always the same. It's not the case.
Oh, that's good. So the next thing, Pat, if I'm not sure if you're still in the in a safe space, not driving, but you were talking about the students' preferred book length, and wondering whether it was related to the amount of time they're comfortable reading at once, and if they feel comfortable reading a book in several sittings. And then that sort of kicked off quite a few comments after that. But Pat, are you driving and not able to comment, perhaps?
Still in the service area, so I'm
okay.
I'm
all right.
okay. So I've turned my camera on, but it's really dark in my car, so you probably can't see me.
Oh, we can see. We can see.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because a lot of my students, I've kind of encouraged them to read, say, like very easy chapter books, like page turners and things like that. And while some of them took to the more interesting and meaty stories. Others said, I can't read this because I read a chapter and I come back and I don't remember it. And now I've got to read the first chapter again. And now I read the first chapter again, and now it's time to finish reading. And when I come back, I don't remember it. So those students, they tend to be really big fans of 600 words. So when Romain was saying like just under 600 words, I thought, these are my students. Because they seem to have like a certain level of stamina in their first year that's a limit of about 10 to 15 minutes.
I think, Daniel, you also
second...
commented exactly the same thing. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, that part really resonated with me.
I think we really have to build the student stamina. Definitely.
I think one thing that I would comment about that is there's a place for reading in class. So if you remember when you were a kid at school, the teacher would read a book aloud and you would listen, and then you wouldn't read the whole thing. You would read a short amount, and then the next day or the next week or next lesson, they would continue the story. And as part of the extensive reading is modeling in the way that we should be reading as well. If we read in class a short amount, just for a short amount of time, get the bookmark, put it in the book, put it aside, and then in the next class, pick it up and continue the story, it kind of models the approach of actually having an ongoing story, that you don't have to read everything all at the same time. Because I too find my students get very frustrated with a longer book. They want to read lots of short books because they don't have a lot of time. They're very busy, but also they don't know how to use a bookmark and put one in and then just put it down and pick it up the next day. So I think perhaps modeling that in class would be something that is very useful. I don't know, having some pretty bookmarks, trying to encourage them to read longer, but for short amount of time. So still reading for the same amount of time as a short book, but feeling okay about putting it down and picking it back up again. So, yeah. And I assume, Pat, that was an agreement from you. So, yes. Okay, so back to Pat also had, oh, okay, Grassroots Press has some books that are written for adults who have difficulty reading in English. So each page is black and white photo with 1 or 2 sentences. Stories cover things like spousal jealousy, being taken advantage of by friends, co-workers, and short, funny stories. That would be very good to see in French. I'm not sure if it's available, but that kind of thing would be quite good for adult or young adult readers.
Well, all students in university, they're 19 to 21, 22, they're still very childish, and we all know that if you teach in university, I mean, my students are big fan of Disney, like all the princess story and all, and so I managed to introduce plenty of like Disney short stories, bedtime stories, Disney bedtime stories, and they're some of the most read books. Not read to the point that they're on my they were on my presentation, but they're quite popular if you add them, and that's what they like. I mean, it's always been, I don't know, the kawaii, and so I don't find they have a, I don't know, what do you say, a reject. There's no feeling of reject again. No one ever told me, oh, your books are too childish. I mean, I had maybe 1 or 2 students said, no, maybe it's too childish, but then they don't look for the other books in the selection. There's so many that they could go for a novel without any illustration, because I also have that. But I mean, maybe they have some frustration because what they could read, they feel it's aimed for children. I don't know.
I think it's what you say it's true. I think it works for 80% of our students. Maybe they don't think they're those books are childish because they don't read also in Japanese. So for them it's okay and they like that kind of things. But the students who read in books, novels in Japanese, mystery novels and that, those are the ones who might think that the children's stories are a little bit childish. But as long as we have also options for those other students to choose a little bit more adult readings, so I think it would be okay to have enough options for everyone.
And Pat, I assume your hand is up for a reason. You haven't just slipped onto the phone controller or anything. Have you got something you would like to say?
Years ago, I spent some time interviewing my students who both did much more extensive reading than they needed to for class, and ones who fell very far short. So a lot of research kind of focuses on the middle. And I kind of looked at those who are reading a lot, what's kind of behind that, and those who are not reading at all. And of the students who were not reading much at all, there was one group who really loved reading in Japanese. And they couldn't get over the gap between what they enjoyed reading in their L1 and what they could read in L2.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were reading purely for enjoyment, but their capabilities in English didn't allow them to read at that level where they were enjoying a really kind of in-depth story, and they just lost motivation because it was just kind of physical training for them in a sense, and they didn't practice enough to get to the point where they could read something that they were interested in. So I think we do need, regardless of the language, we need lots more books that are short, easy, but not necessarily childish.
Yeah.
And this might be something that format that Grassroots Press uses of photography with simple sentences depicting a rather deep story. This might be something that our students would be well suited to make, because they have cameras. They might be able to write short sentences to describe what's happening in a photo. They might be able to make these kind of deeper stories that they want somebody to read. So,
very interesting. I think that is a really good idea.
of course, like the books that we want to have, us as teachers, we might be the writers, but maybe our students could also be the source of those.
Very good. Okay, well, we should probably want to get through the comments that we've got here. Anna, you had a couple of comments here. If you'd like to ask, I can, we've got here, do you take questionnaires about why students choose particular books? How do they do reading, using dictionary, etc.? So that was her question.
Yeah, very good question. Yeah, I do a survey each semester, and I don't know, I gather maybe 400. No, maybe not. I have quite a lot of replies, and every semester I'm thinking about new questions I should add. Like, for example, yeah, did you use the dictionary? Or even recently, because I think I saw some students do it in class. They use the Google camera and just translate the old page. So they do some. I suspect some of them do that, and I should maybe just ask them honestly if people rely on these things or not. Like, or maybe they start reading normally, and if they get tired, they do that. One issue I have also, and this I don't know how to deal with that, but I know that many of my, so I'm not using X reading. Okay, when you're doing X reading, you have to read the old book, and then you can access the quiz. But in my case, they can have the book in hand and they can watch the quiz at the same time. And I see them, some of them, I don't know the percentage, but in the classroom, I see them like just checking the books and doing the quiz at the same time. Well, in the end, if the comprehension rate is good, I guess, well, it's difficult to say they understood 100% of the book, especially if they were, looking for specific question and answers. But well, I have no control. I say I have no control on that, but that's something maybe I should ask them. I try to have them read, then check the question, and that's one of the issue I have. I know I'm not answering but the question, but yeah, the more feedback I can have from the students, about their habits, the way they read, the better it is. And I will try to, how you say, connect everything if I can. Definitely.
And there's another comment from Anna, which is also about the levels, which I was also interested that you're counting words and using the length of the books or the number of words as a way of leveling the books, which I've not come across before. So
that's all I have. That's all I have. I don't have anything else.
Okay.
and
asked and answered.
And
yeah.
I mean, the levels itself is just a way to gather some books together when doing my graphs. But on the catalog, if you remember, they just have the lengths, and they just enter a space when they go above. Well, when we change the level, kind of. But it's just they pick the it's there. It's the word count. That's
have you thought of creating your own leveling system?
No.
Well, I mean, like in Japan, we have there's the YL level, the Yomiyasu
level. Yeah. I mean,
English, which
it's
kind
good.
of half use, and half it's just gut instinct after a while, and seeing how some kids struggle with one book and they don't struggle so much with this one. So you know that this one's going to be a higher level than this one's going to be a lower level. But you haven't thought to try and do anything like that with leveling?
There's two steps, two needs. First, I need to be able to operate, to be able to add new books frequently, because I believe that what is new is exciting. So almost every week or every other weeks, I add new books in my program. And to tell you the truth, I have students, fourth year students, pick new books, because I do the word count and I have 100 books already ready. I've done the word count, but I haven't done the quizzes yet. So I bring books in the classroom and I say, okay, in small groups, you take 2 or 3 and pick one that you enjoy the most, and you're going to make a quiz for that book. And every other week, I have a class designing 6, 7, or 8 new quizzes. And every other week, I add those new quizzes in my program. So first part of the answer, I need to add new thing quickly. And so if we don't have, there's no Yomiyasu for French. There's no L'Exile for French, the L'Exile School and all of these things. I have 0 headwords. I have even the graded readers for French made by publishers of French second language material. They don't even put the word count, the headword, nothing. We have nothing. And I need something to be able to operate quickly. And so I read, I count the words when I have time, when I'm on the train, when my kids are watching TV or whatever. And then I create quizzes myself, or I ask my student to do it. And that's the first part. And that's how I have 250 books now, all by myself. And it's working. And in the second time, when I have time to reflect on all of this, I do what Kimberly said, is that I start entering checking the content of the book with frequency tools or that kind of things. But it takes time and it doesn't benefit immediately to the students. And I want to add new books. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for a long time to add new books, because I need to find the precise level and blah, blah, blah. And
I
so
know exactly what you mean. I have the same issue, like when new books come in and students see the books, they want to read them. And it's very hard. You don't want to say no, because that's exactly what you want them to be doing, is going, I want to read the book. So, but have you got one of these and do you use it? Because that's your best friend. Counting words. Every single book in my library has a word count in it. Some of it, a lot of it comes from publishers, but a lot of it is just me with this little clicker counting 10 words and going click, and then looking and seeing how many words there are in the book. Saves time. Just thought I'd mention that.
I draw
That's a
sticks.
good thing.
I draw sticks every 50 words.
I
And
used to do that. This is much quicker.
That's for 10. That's for 10. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
10, click 10, and then you just look at it and add 0, and you've got the words already there. So yeah, that's what I would suggest. Daniel, are you using something?
Yeah, I started the Spanish program for this excessive reading recently, but I also, with the counting words, I use some applications with the cell phone. You just scan the page, as long as they have a good printed words, and you scan the page and you pass it to another application, and in around 5 seconds you get the number of words. So at the next page and the next page.
One
Well,
page.
Romain told me that sometimes there are some mistakes, especially depending on the font or the number of the page or the title, but in general it's quite accurate. That's what I found, and I kept on using it. I mean, I have books that has 3,000, 4,000 words. I cannot afford to count one another, and with those applications it works. I mean, just
yeah, you have to find some
for me it does.
a method that works for you, and I'm like a human computer now. Believe me.
Gregory, I think
Sandra.
Gregory had something to add to that one. Have you had experience with this too? Have you?
I'm just studying the program of extensive reading Russian department, so I don't have any experience really. But my question is it possible if students may evaluate the level of what they are reading according to some scale, and then you can provide this data to those who are choosing the books that have been already read?
Yeah, definitely. That's also an option. Definitely. Okay. Let me show you some of my materials. Let me share the screen a bit more. Okay. So, okay. So again, so that's the catalog. That's what the students use. Okay. And so every week I give new recommendations, and well, they have quick access to more than 500 and blah blah blah. And yeah, basically this on the right side, I mean, it's how they pick their books. That plus the recommendation. I do topical, thematical recommendation each week. Well, this week it's just here are 4 new books that the 4-year students just picked and design quiz for last week. But like before that, I did Father's Day, and the week before I did Mother's Day, because it was Mother's Day in France, and like all kind of thematical stuff, so that they don't just pick the book by length, you know. Yeah, I'm sharing. Yeah, and so yeah, basically I put this on the catalog, and the catalog is online. The catalog is on Dropbox, and they just have a link. So anytime they click on the link, they get the refresh new version of this catalog, which is quite useful. And okay, and this is what I see. This is so it's on Microsoft Forms, and I have here all of my books and all of my so this is where I'm gonna look for their replies and all. And so what you were saying, okay, let's go with Toy Story. Okay, here's Toy Story. So they have access to read aloud on YouTube if they don't want to pick the book in the classroom. They have the quiz and the question, did you enjoy this book? Was it difficult and why? And what I could do, so this one got 48 replies. And so here I have the average comprehension rate. Okay, 88% of understanding comprehension. It's good. So I'm not going to use this, but I could. So okay, I could use this. Okay, did you enjoy this book? This one is rated 4.6 on the 5-point scale. And was it difficult? Well, I guess not. 2.9. I could put that. Definitely, I could add one more column here, but I will need to update that once in a while. And like, if only 2% or 3% took the quiz already, then maybe the data will not be, good, because only 2 people took it and did not find the book interesting or very difficult, but that's only 2%. See, so I was thinking about doing those things too, but so far, this. And my recommendation in the classroom, some reading I do once in a while, and the word of mouth, because one read a book and then recommend it to a friend or that kind of thing. So far, it works. But yeah, and again, still, even if I say it's a bit too much work to go and grab that score and all, it's here. I just 2 clicks and I have the difficulty, perceived difficulty by students. It's just I would have to gather that. It's only 2 clicks, but I don't feel like doing it now, but it's available in case I need it. What do you think?
Can I ask what the Y and P was on the catalogue?
Sorry?
All the books in your catalogue, you had Y or P or
oh
nothing.
Yeah.
What was that?
Why are the it's messy. It's something I added recently. Why is when they have a YouTube read aloud. A P is that when it's only paper, and when there's nothing, there's a proper, they're like public domain or something like that, and so they have a proper PDF or something. So much easier to read than YouTube, because I know I just started adding YouTube, but they like it, but sometimes I feel that, well, YouTube is not bad, because I pick read aloud where the text is quite clear, okay? And so if they want to know sound, they just put the sound off, and they still can read it and maybe pause if they need. I mean, it's not perfect, but again, I'm not X-reading, and I don't want to provide illegal stuff. Already read aloud on Facebook, it's not completely well. So yeah, that's the reason why there are Y and P, and it's messy. Again, it's messy, but
don't apologize. I think you've done an amazing job. And actually, Bert Linda asked a question here. How did you build this library, and what is the technology behind it? Where did you get the text? You scanned the books, or do the students use the physical copy? Bert Linda, perhaps you would like to expand on that, or
yeah, I'm interested to build a library, but I don't know how to start, and it's for German. No, it's not for French, but it's interesting to see what you put together.
Okay, so to be honest, when I started during COVID, and at the beginning with a small library, I put well, I made I scan all of my books for I have a private copy of the books in case I would like to, I don't know, show some illustration in the classroom. I have my material available for me, and this is legal. You have the right to keep a copy of anything you want for private purpose. But when I started, it was online, and I put some of these online, but in a very restricted way, like download was not possible. And then once you've read the book, you cannot access the file anymore because the quiz is not accessible, the book is not accessible. That's well, we want to be as clean as possible. So I would not recommend putting, well, scanning, you can scan. Again, no problem with that. I checked with my university's lawyer, actually. And like I asked him, can I put, so I asked him, I said, okay, I found many read aloud of the books I'm interested in on YouTube, but some books don't have read aloud. Can I upload my own read aloud of the books? And he says, no, no, because yeah, a diffusion of copyrighted material, even read aloud, it's a copyright infringement. Well, that's what I was told. And well, he told me not to do that, but put a link to a read aloud online, it's okay. That's what he said. Anyway, so I bring the books in the classroom, but only 10% of the students will borrow the book. And most of my classes are like conversation class, communication classes, and we don't have time to sit down and read books in most of these classes. But I also have a small fraction of classes where I'm more free of what I'm doing, like the 4th year class where my students are designing quizzes. I mean, they're not doing that every week, but they're doing that, I don't know, 5 times each semester. I can give them time to read in the classroom. So that's one thing. I mean, one option is have them read in the classroom or borrow your books, but not all of them want to do that. And that's why X-Reading and those platforms are very popular. So the second option are, I guess, the read aloud on YouTube. I mean, that's what I'm using now. And well, they're reading the books, they're using YouTube, and they find it interesting because there are all kinds of accents, like people in Quebec reading the books, people in France, in Africa, in Belgium. So I guess for German, it would be the same. Austrian people, Swiss people, German people, you know. And well, I found out that many books are available on YouTube as read aloud, and I'm sure for German, it's the same.
What you've showed us on screen share was the read aloud library.
Okay, I can
cover, and then you get the information where the read aloud is.
Okay. So again, so this is what my students see. Okay, and okay, so J'aime les livres, famous book, popular one. Okay. So okay, when they click, this is what they can access to. Okay, just the quiz and all. They don't access the answers, obviously, but you see, I put some decoration. Well, I can add the scan of the cover as some illustration, so it makes it a bit more interesting. And on YouTube, I just went and looked for. I just typed the title of the book. All of the books, there are books I have already. I mean, or when I go to France, I go to the bookstore and I ask for advice, or I go to a library and I ask for advice. I buy the book, maybe, yeah, most of the time. And then after so I bring them to the classroom. And that's how we make the quizzes. They use the physical books to make quizzes and all. But after that, I want the books to be available to as many people as possible. So I look on YouTube, for example, for like, yeah, see, that's it. It's on YouTube. I mean,
Coucou les petits loulous.
I don't know if you can hear.
Aujourd'hui, Émilie lit J'aime les livres.
And
J'aime les livres.
And yeah, and that's, well, good enough. I mean, I bring the books in the classroom. If they don't want to borrow the books, well, if they can manage with YouTube, that's good. But I mean, again, I'm sure you can find many class, and I think that's one of the advantages of children literature, because even leveled readers, because when I look for graded readers online for French, they are not very popular, and they're not well, most of the time they're not well-designed books, not very popular because they're for very small segment. And it's the same for English, actually. The level readers are much, well, except English, it's more, there are more people learning as a second language, but leveled readers for first language kids, they are always more accessible than second language. And I think I'm not inventing that. I think it's in the ERF guide and in many like documentation. And well, just sorry, but it's way easier to find non-graded and leveled graded leveled readers on the internet than books for second language learners. You understood that part? So if you know some like classical, like I have German books. I have German books like, now I'm not sharing my screen again, but yeah, I have some German books, and I'm pretty sure that, and well, because they're children literature, it's very easy to find somebody reading it on YouTube.
About Linda, you did say about where do you get the books? How do you start the library? I just want to add, Merukari is your friend. There are a lot of books that you can buy on Merukari, kids' books in French, German, Spanish, probably Russian, never looked, but I'm sure they're there, and of course English as well. And you just have to keep an eye out regularly, set a few search parameters, and you can actually get a lot of materials secondhand, and usually in very good condition. So, yeah.
Yeah.
What is Mercury? It starts. What is Mercury?
It's a Mercari. It's a online. It's a web auction. Well, it's not an auction. Like people just, it's buy and sell. People list things online.
Like eBay.
Yeah,
Japanese eBay.
But it's not eBay because you just pay the price. You don't like, there's no bargaining, there's no auction. It's very popular for buying and selling secondhand things, and also a lot of pirated things from China, unfortunately, but not so much probably in other languages, but in English definitely quite a lot. But that's definitely something you should look at. You can get the app on your phone. That's, I mean, I use it on my phone. It's Merukari. So if you just type that in, also obviously on a website as well, and you just sign up and you can buy things there. And given the nodding that was going on, I assume everybody's been buying bits and pieces from Merukari over the years. And Book Off. Not so much now. They've sort of reduced a lot of the foreign language books, but over the years I have managed to get quite a few titles from Book Off, depending where you are. But Kyoto used to have quite a good foreign language section, including French. I've seen French, occasional German title. Never seen anything Spanish, but there's always time for that. But
and don't forget about public domain. As I saw in my presentation, there's a few websites with quite good things. Again, one of the the story waiver, then I will send you the link again, and the website sometimes is a bit slow, but one of the most read book of my library is a public domain book from India, translated to French. And you find stuff in Russian, in Spanish, in German. If I can get the website working, I will show it to you.
Sounds very good. Well, also while you're doing that, the thing about comics, yes, Daniel, the comic books, whether or not you have comics available for students. I know from my entire teaching career and learning languages started because I found a French Tintin book, or Tintin book in the public library when I was about 7, and became fascinated by this comic that had this strange language that I wanted to decode. So I know that can be quite a good way in to learning a language is comic books. Oh, okay, they got German as well.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. So yeah, start with.
Do they have Japanese?
I guess let's okay. Japanese. I think, yeah.
Oh.
And
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
not everything is of good quality, but yeah, sure.
Interesting. Yeah.
Can you, that specific page you're on now, can you just send the link in the chat?
Sure.
Because I did have a look at that site and it didn't seem to have Japanese, so I was like, oh, then. But
So
now maybe it does.
the comics, that's what we
Yeah, the comics.
Yeah. Do you have any comics? No, not keen on comics or graphic
well,
novels?
no. I mean, I love comic books, and I have like tons of translation of manga to French, but they're long. They're very, very long. They have, if you start counting all the words in like a typical manga, for example, in the English or French translation of One Piece, it gonna goes in thousands of words. So and the language is gonna be difficult. There's gonna be a lot of slang and all, because it's all trendy and young, and and it's a bit they want to be a bit like, I don't know, so use tons of bad words and all. So it can be maybe one of the most complicated thing to read, I think. Comics, maybe. So comics for kids, short comics.
I have the manga, Japanese manga in English, but I don't count the words. And I don't, no, but I mean, I let them borrow it, but I don't let it count towards any word count. So I still encourage them to borrow them and read them. But even if it means they become interested because they've got the same copy of that manga at home in Japanese and they want to compare words, or even if they just catch a couple of words in English and they're mostly looking at the pictures, I still think that's a better experience than just saying, oh, don't put them in there. So I let them take it, but they have to take other books as well. So because like I said, I had a really positive experience when I was a kid with a book that I completely had no clue what it was, but it was that interest in trying to decode something around a comic that really spurred me to want to try and learn languages. And I think that's a really good way to try and hook some of our students who are exposed to Jujutsu Kaisen or Spy Family or a lot of other things. And quite frankly, they're usually, there are a lot of comics that have been translated into non-English languages. So for example, Spanish. There's a surprisingly large manga translation into Spanish, probably more than in English. So yeah, it is quite surprising, but I would encourage that. Yeah.
And I guess not only manga, because also I bought the One Piece in Spanish, and it happened to me the same with Romain. Just too long and a lot of slang. So I will just allow them to pick it up and maybe to read the first chapter only. But I also found some comics for younger readers that I bought them in Spain, and it solves the problem of the length. It's that many comics are not that long. So, and the word count is 1,000. I get so many of them, 1,000. You only need to be quite picky and select the ones that don't use too much slang or very complicated. But I think it could be, and it's only dialogue, most of them, or at least the ones that are good for our students. But I think it could be a good first step, to I'm going to do experiment with that myself.
you can put books with difficult words and slangs as long as they have the option to pick that or something else. If they pick that, they can learn something about the culture too. We don't have to, you know, give something very dry and very, like, that's what they get from the textbooks. Textbooks are very dry and with controlled vocabulary, so give options. That's my feeling.
Well, think about all the books that you have at home, probably like me. I've got a pile of books next to my bed that I really want to read. It might take me 2 years to get to them, but I love having those books around. It makes me feel good to have those options. And I think for our students, having those options, even if you're not going to maybe commit to reading the whole thing, having a comic around, it kind of makes you feel good. Just be able to pick it up. So perhaps it doesn't count towards your word count, but it does help encourage readers to read, and I think that's probably a very valuable thing there.
Why, Sandra, do you say that it doesn't count as a word count? Why you cannot consider that
because
like extensive reading?
I've seen them read it, and it's mostly just
watch
they look at the pictures, they read the occasional word, but it's not. I'd say very few students, no matter what age, very few students would actually read every word. Sometimes I'm lucky I have private and small group classes at my school. And so we sometimes read them in class. And then we go through and I get an idea of exactly, you know, they want to skip along. They want to skip to the next exciting picture. And I don't see anything wrong with that, but I don't think it's really counting towards an extensive reading experience. It's more building people who want to pick up a book. And I think that's a very valuable thing. So that's why I don't count the words. And also, quite frankly, it would take a long time, like Romain said, about counting the words.
I can show you one comic I use. I found a short one. And that's the kind of thing I use. If it's short enough, so wait, here, that's here. Yeah, that's one. It's one, maybe you know Boule Bill, and it's 133, and it's like this. And I mean, that's what the book looks like. The left page, right page, so very big, how do you say, squares. And this one I'm using it because it's very short. Okay, well, it's based on the comics, regular comics for kids, but they made it even simpler for very young kids. This works, because it's a short book, and that's it. See, I mean, I don't have anything against comic. It's the same as Sandra. If it's too long, it's going to be a pain to count the word and think about the quiz, because I don't want my quizzes to be too long and all that. I mean, that's because we're doing extensive reading with like quizzes and like we base the grading. Well, I don't know for Sandra, but I base the grading on the word count, that kind of things. But if you do extensive reading and are more focused on the reader's experience, like having them writing like a reader journal or that kind of things, and not taking the word count in the equation, you can do whatever you want. You can do it Russian style. You can give them magazines, and it's wonderful too. It's just, if you want some, I don't know, some control, some evaluation, some assessment, so you can have both. That's what Sandra says. You have you offer both, best of both worlds. Nothing wrong with that. But I believe that if I give mangas to my students and say, you can read that, but you won't get points, they will think about it.
They would probably read it. I would say they would read it. I would say they would take it home, because it's that curiosity, especially if it's something that is familiar to them. You know, like when Kimetsu no Yaiba, Demon Slayer, was really like super popular. It just was so popular that they really just wanted to see it, and the novelty of seeing the English was great. So like I say, even if they just catch a couple of words, that's a win. That's a win for me.
How about what Romain just mentioned before, that I'm sure also my students are doing that, a few of them, just with the Google camera, just translating directly the whole page with the, how can we avoid that? What can we do to, is there any way to
Nothing.
choose? There is
There is,
nothing.
there is nothing you can do to stop
Yeah.
people from using
Yeah.
that technology.
And we're doing extensive reading. It's something that's mostly done at home without control, and it's if they do it for one book, I mean, are they going to do it for 10 books, 20 books? If so, will they gain something from the experience? Maybe some cultural insights, maybe some knowledge of some words. Maybe they do like relations between the translation and the French. I don't know. I mean, it's extensive. There's still extensivity. I don't know what they learn, what they get from that, but it's not the end of everything. I mean, if you have one specific activity like intensive reading or some translation activity, you know, all the classic typical classroom language education activities, the automatic translation can really like destroy your hard efforts. But extensive reading books for fun, if they want to use a translator, I don't know, I think it still maybe work. It's not enough. I don't know. What do you think about that? It's not that bad.
I think that as long as what you give them is reasonable in length and difficulty, maybe they will make the effort. But as soon as it goes over the 600 words that you mentioned, or just a difficult language, it's gonna be automatic. It's gonna be okay. Let's do it. Yes.
I don't set like a number of words to read each month or stuff like that. So they don't
let
cheat.
them choose.
I don't have much cheating, because if they want, I ask them to read one book a week, and if they want to pick the shortest one,
they can choose the 100
they still get points for that. And as you say, if the task is doable without too much effort, then cheating, translating will take more time, or you know, like asking a friend for his replies will be more bothersome than just reading the short book and answering the simple quiz. And so I have no problem. It's working. I'm not struggling with this kind of issues, because they choose the book they want. They cannot complain. Sometimes I have people write me, I did not enjoy that book, but you don't, or it was too difficult. And I'm like, you don't have to read it. So that's also part of our job, like guiding them, telling them again and again, if it's too difficult, stop reading, pick another one. That's
exactly fun, enjoyable. Definitely. It's like the number one rule, it must be enjoyable. And if it's not enjoyable, put it down and find something else. Pat, are you going to agree with us there? Hand up there.
Off the highway, I'm in Yamagata City and in a parking lot now.
Okay.
But as far as
road tripping across Yamagata,
I'm getting closer and closer to home. But for the role of kind of translation tools and things like that in reading, so personally I don't have this experience, but Louise Ohashi is reading extensively in several languages. I think French, Italian, and German. And she actively uses these tools in order for her to read books that she wants to read. And I think it's very easy for us to say these are things that we shouldn't use, but there are definitely people who are using it as a scaffold instead of a crutch to avoid language. So even like in our own classes, I think we've got to be careful before we demonize some of these tools.
I agree. I think with the whole AI experience coming through, a lot of people are trying to sort of push them aside and trying to not use them. I think it's naive to think that our students are not going to use ChatGPT or any other large language model platforms or the technology for translating for DeepL or Google or whatever. I think trying to work out how to incorporate that or using it in a way that is helpful for them. Like Pat said, more as a scaffold rather than a crutch. I think that's probably a very good way to look at it. But Gregory, you had something to say about this?
Yeah, I'm just of the same opinion that we cannot demonize these AI tools. It's part of our life. Students are using it on an everyday basis. So our goal is to teach them how to use these instruments. And the problem is that we don't know actually how to use them. If we already know some language, we don't need to use it. So, and we are not, get used to this stuff. It's a great problem, but we should think how to use. So we are encouraging actually using Google Translate and even ChatGPT at our regular classes at Russian department, but we notice that we don't know how to use it. It's a big problem, but we should think about it. When it comes to an extensive reading, they can use a dictionary, they can use Google Translate if they want to understand something. The problem is if they only read this translation, in this case, they won't learn anything. Yeah, but
one talking about the using Google Translate in dictionaries. This is one issue that I've actually in the last year and a half has been quite a problem, that I think a lot of students don't use dictionaries anymore, that they quite often rely on Google Translate or DeepL or even Aruku. I'm obviously talking about English and Japanese, and there are students who rely solely on these tools rather than actually a dictionary that has more depth, has examples, teaches you how to use a word, how to understand a word. So they're not getting the full understanding of some of the language that they're actually looking up because they're using inferior tools. And I think dictionary skills are on the way down in a big way. And I've noticed that especially in the last year and a half, because everyone has a smartphone and they want to be able to use it. And I understand, I do too, but it means they're not actually getting that same experience of looking up a word and trying to understand the meaning. So I'm not sure if you guys are, yeah.
That's a big problem, yeah.
I think that Bertlinde asked me about the platform, the infrastructure. I use Microsoft Forms. You could use Google Forms. Google Forms is free, and I just put the link to all of my quizzes in a Word file, and my Word file is a shared file that I put on Dropbox, but could be Google Drive or whatever. So one Word file with link to the quizzes, and then the quizzes on the free platform, and that's all. And the quizzes are auto-corrected, auto-solved, so I don't have to check every answer. And it's free. I mean, yeah, it's not using money. The only money is to buy books, but if you don't have money for books, you can get public domains or work on read aloud books. It's free. I mean, it's cheap, and it works.
I'm wondering if there's any, sorry to interrupt. I'm just wondering, hopefully we haven't missed anybody, the questions. There's been so much chat whizzing by that if anyone has any question that they haven't had the chance to ask or would like to say something about something that has been asked, please speak now, forever hold your peace.
Yes. I was accessing Storyweaver for the first time, and it was saying it has a security issue, and
yeah, sometimes the website is a bit not working well. Try again. Try again.
Finally, I got there, But with the security issue, can you recommend this then the students? You know, it's
no, I mean, so I guess to be able to download the books, you need to create yourself a free account, and then you can download the PDF and offer the PDF on a Dropbox, shared folders or something. It would be better to give a link to the platform, but if it's too complicated, you can keep a copy. It's public domain, I think, copyleft or public domain or something like that. That's what I did. I mean, my books from Storyweaver are on a Dropbox folder, which is not nice for Storyweaver traffic. That's something I should work on. Maybe. Again, if they need to create an account and everything to be able to access the book, they won't do that. If it's too complicated, if there are too many steps, they won't do it. Right now, one click for the quiz, one click for the YouTube video, they like it. I mean, I bring the books in the classroom. They don't want to borrow my books. I mean,
really, that's so interesting, because for Japanese, it's completely the opposite. They only want the paper books. They hate reading online.
But if they all started to borrow the books, I will have so many missing books and like books in bad shape. So I don't know. But yeah, we're definitely trying to have students use the physical library more.
If you print the books on 200 GSM paper, they last quite well.
If you print the books, okay.
Yeah, on 200 GSM, so double thickness paper, and it still goes through the regular printer just fine. You don't need a special printer. Sorry, I have a bit of a lisp because of my braces, so I don't know if you can understand me or not.
Yeah. But I cannot print like copyrighted material. I'm not allowed to do that.
No, you can.
Now for yourself, but you're not. I mean,
no. But for educational purposes,
in Japan,
it is.
In Japan, for educational purposes, it's okay if you only do a part of a book, not the full book. If entire books, it's not allowed. The thing is, we want students to read the whole book. We want them to know how it ends and all. And so now it's not working.
You can if there's different editions. You can print 10% of one edition, and then 10% of another edition, and then 10% of
there are many things you can do if you don't.
That's a good trick.
Everywhere. But if you don't tell it publicly on a recorded video. But yeah, otherwise you have to be careful.
Okay, Pat, what would you like to add?
I'm now home.
Well, we have now got you safely at home. Yeah. Okay.
But also I was thinking about my own reading in French. And when I was learning in high school, articles were atrociously difficult to learn. So le, la, I always just escape by saying everything in a plural. But I found that as I was reading more and more, I could encounter a new noun and kind of having a feeling that I think it's le, I think it's la. And I'd be interested to see your students, Romain, after they've been reading for a year or two, what is their kind of awareness of some of these? I'm not sure if it's an important language target of articles or not, but it does seem to be one that is difficult for languages that don't have gendered articles.
Yeah. It's going to be very difficult to prove and to measure, I think. I think the old experimental protocol is just giving me headache.
I think maybe even within student writing.
Oh, yeah.
Like seeing within their own writing, do you see them start to have more accuracy with it over time?
Again, it's going to be complicated.
But I know sustainability with what you're doing in your practice and your research is definitely important, and that's just one more thing.
Just gather the data now, and then when you have a spare couple of months, you can go through it and
Yeah. Thank you for the idea. No, you're right. Articles, it's a problem for people learning French, definitely.
For exact data, you will need 2 target groups, one doing extensive reading and another one.
Yeah.
No, you can see by the amount of extensive reading. You can separate them by the amount.
Oh yeah.
And then that way you don't have to restrict people.
Yeah, recently I separated my data by 1 semester, 2 semesters, 3 semesters of extensive reading, and I'm hoping to get interesting data from that.
But even within the same cohort, you can say, okay, students who read less than 10 books a semester or more than 10 books a semester.
Absolutely.
For example, I mean, just pulling numbers out.
Yeah. So I put my email address in the chat if you need help, Bertlinda. I'll be happy to give you some more information. And I personally want to improve my German or my Spanish by reading easy to read material. So help me build something and let me access it. That'd be very nice. I want to read easy stuff.
I think this has been really good and very interesting to hear different people with different languages that we're all trying to do the same thing, trying to get people to read and learn. And it's been absolutely wonderful hearing from different language experts, shall we say. And I think it's also very interesting to hear that we have very similar problems in the things that we're encountering. So that's really good. And Bertlinda, Geolino.de. Geolino.
Okay.
Page 4.
Okay.
Famous journal magazine. How do you say? What do you say? So that would be a bit adult. So it's
Nice. Well, we're already watching Arte with my kids, mostly in French, but we watch it in German once in a while.
There is a publisher who publishes texts in easy language, leichte Sprache, for people who are actually a bit handicapped to understand German, to include these people, because there is a kind of 5% of the population for whom it's actually very difficult to understand complex German. Something they also use. Others also use for the Easy Reader program.
That's very interesting. Pat, would you like to make one more comment? Then I'm going to stop the recording. We can keep talking, but we have been recording and talking for a long time. Pat?
Yep, I just wanted to say thank you, everybody. This has been the best commute ever.
Okay. And then
better than a podcast.
Or